I guess what I'll say before we start is we're going to speak to you about Gestalt and race. And even though we've talked about this together a lot, we're still anxious, and we're especially anxious in front of this international audience.
So as we speak, just notice what's going on in your body, your tension, your desire to look away. Notice any intellectualization or defensiveness.
And if you become defensive or you notice yourself going into your head, take a minute. The invitation is take a minute to reflect on that and to reflect on the privilege that you have to be able to disengage.
Okay. You ready?
Ready. Okay.
So Gestalt doesn't know how to deal with race. It doesn't know how to deal with people of color. Gestalt doesn't know how to deal with me.
Gestalt was developed by white people for white people. I'm racist, and I would say Gestalt is racist. We don't know how to include you, Ryaja. As your friend, as a person who is white and more aware of her own privilege, I recognize I have an obligation and a duty to not be silent about that and to speak. I hear that you don't belong, and I want contact with you. And at the same time, I'm scared, and I imagine that Gestalt is scared. When I think about what am I going to have to give up, what does Gestalt have to give up in order to be in real relationship with you? So how can we make contact?
Bernie, I don't like you putting the responsibility on me. It's not my job to figure out how you or the Gestalt community can make contact. You have to do your own internal work. Gestalt has to do their own internal work.
Yeah, you're right. I do need to do that work. And my desire to do that work is a product of seeing and valuing you and of our connection and contact. In seeing you as another human, I feel like I am propelled to do that work. And I recognize, like, as you sit with me, your willingness to sit with me right here, right now, what an undeserved gift that is. And your willingness to show up for this audience here today. What a gift you're giving us. And that gift of your presence, I think, is what allows me to do what I need to do to work.
Gestaltists have been trained to notice the field, at least on an intellectual level. Does Gestalt directly address racism in the field as a field condition? And what about awareness? Gestalt's all about awareness, right? So where do you choose to direct awareness, and when do you choose to look away?
Gestalt is about awareness, and I've been trained very well to notice my thoughts, my sensations, my feelings. And I've been taught to, like, think about the field, but I don't feel like I have learned to really feel the field and to notice you, to notice myself in contact with you in a way that allows me to own that I am also an oppressor.
Think for a minute. When was the last time you thought about your whiteness? Are you thinking about your whiteness right now in this moment? How about last week? Maybe last year? Or do you only think about your whiteness when we're together? What awareness do you have of your whiteness when there's no pigmental contrast in the field?
I don't think about my whiteness, Ryaja, and that's the problem, and that's my privilege. I don't have to think about my whiteness, and Gestalt doesn't think about, I don't think as a field, as a community, we don't think about our whiteness. And obviously that perpetuates the oppression of people of color. We see ourselves, but I don't think we do a good job of seeing people who don't look like And I realize as I name these things, and as I'm sitting here struggling to like stay present in my own body right now, I feel my discomfort, and I think about how we preach phenomenology and we preach this inclusiveness, and yet in practice, there's this insidious kind of color blindness that we perpetuate. So I think if we want to be truly aware of race and the experiences of you and of other people of color, we're going to have to give up a lot. And we need to think about and confront the things that we would have to give up to have and maintain real contact.
That minute.
So as you move forward, a new generation of Gestaltists, how can you keep the power of awareness and attention, but shift it outward to see, to understand, to be with others? How can you use the power of I-thou relating to increase awareness of racism within the Gestalt community? Instead of designing programs or thinking about gimmicks to recruit people of color, you have to change the culture from within. How many Gestalt workshops have you been to that were led by people of color? How many books by Black or people of color Gestaltists are on your bookshelves? Be willing to do something different. Be willing to be something different.
So we need to consider, are we really willing to shift from a Eurocentric perspective to include other perspectives? How much power are we really willing to give up? And how much privilege are we really willing to cede?
Okay.
We say that Gestalt is implicitly culturally sensitive, inclusive, and affirming of people of color. But again, look around the room. Ask if the data supports this kind of a conclusion. We're failing and we're fooling ourselves and each other. I think Gestalt is racist. So here we are. What now and what next?
Okay. Thank you.